As per your permission earlier, I'm now amending the standing orders just for one item to introduce Eric Segal, who is the secretary of the South East Kent Trade Union Council, who's come to speak to us as part of a decision we made earlier in a previous meeting about getting more involved with local trade councils. So over to you, Eric.
Thank you, sisters and brothers, comrades. Thanks for the invitation to speak at the South East Regional Council of the RMT. And as Mike said, I'm Secretary of South East Kent Trade Union Council, which was re-established under the instigation and encouragement of the far-sighted Bob Crow some 10 years ago. Now, I've been asked to speak about trade councils following, I believe that Mike sent a letter through to branch secretaries about this, but I think it would be remiss of me not to mention the pandemic and the crisis we all face, because we're all in a fight for our lives and for our livelihoods. But the misery, of course, isn't universal. Some of the bosses are doing very nicely indeed. In fact, 10 of the richest people in the world have increased their collective wealth by more than £300 billion since the pandemic began. And chief executives of Britain's largest stock market listed companies collect an obscene 73 times the average wage of their workers. Cronyism is rife, and one survey showed that half the money handed out COVID-related measures went to companies linked to Tory politicians or those with no experience in the field. But whilst the fortunes of the bosses of logistics, PPE, pharmaceuticals soared, it's a different picture for the majority of our people, with 5.6 million people claiming universal credit and more than 60% having little or insufficient work, an increase of 3 million people from October 2019. A further estimated 2 million families are destitute, struggling to feed, clothe or house themselves, and a further 2 million people are furloughed, having to live on 80% of their wage and not knowing whether or not they'll have a job to go back to. And unless the trade union movement stands its ground, the cost of this devastating crisis will be paid for by our members, the working class and the poor. And the bosses have already indicated they intend to use the scale of state debt to justify new attacks on the working class with a recent announcement of new public sector pay freeze, when public sector wages have already been squeezed for the last 10 years. In fact, civil servants' wages have shrunk by some 19% in real terms over that period. And we believe, the Trades Council believe, that the whole trade union movement must stand shoulder to shoulder with workers in struggle, whether it's bus drivers fighting for toilet facilities, health workers under huge pressures from successive government underfunding and desperate for PPE, teachers and workers defending health and safety, gas workers fighting against fire and hire bosses, further education workers fighting to defend paying conditions, and students opposing unfair rents. Our Trades Council, the South East Kent Trades Council, and I know others like Medway and so on are the same, have made a positive contribution to the direction of the class struggle. We must pay tribute to the continuing tenacity of members of the RMT and RMT Maritime for their determination in defending the terms and conditions of transport workers and seafarers. And we pay tribute to reps in the health service struggling against shortages of staff and bullying, to PCS reps relating how they are short-staffed, underpaid and without direction over leaving the European Union. Reps in Unite Community at the forefront of the struggle against universal credit, which crushes the vulnerable and disabled, to the education system, postal workers defending the right to strike, and the ongoing dispute of university lecturers, the UCU. Trades councils were set up in the mid-1800s following mass trade union action and opposition to anti-trade union legislation, such as the Combination Acts, Masters and Servants Acts, and the deportation of the Dorchester labourers, otherwise known as the Tolpuddle Martyrs. The first Trades Council was set up following the building trades strike in 1859, when striking construction workers were forced into destitution. A number of trade unions organised together to raise finance and support for the striking workers. Acts of solidarity with other workers in struggle had led to the tradition of different trade unions building support when emergency dictated the need for solidarity action. However, this changed after the building trades strike, and a formal decision was made to set up a permanent London Trades Council, the first one. And this was repeated across the country, and within 5 years, over 60 trades councils were established in London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Bristol, Sheffield, Dublin, Liverpool, and so on. Well, trades councils have led a checkered existence since the time of their formation. However, they continue to play a local supportive role to trade union activity. So, for example, the RMT campaign to keep the guard on the train was and is widely communicated, actively supported and shared across the Trades Council movement. Trades councils are a bona fide affiliate to the TUC nationally, to which we have to register annually. The membership of trades councils are delegates elected from their respective different trade union branches in the geographical area covered by the Trades Council. So a trade union member can be a delegate to a trades council if they either work and or live in that particular area. So our Trades Council, for example, has delegates, amongst others, from the RMT General Grades and RMT Maritime, Unite National Health Branch, Unite Services Branch, and Unite Community Branch, CW Invicta and CW Meridian, PCS Border Force, PCS Department of Works and Pensions. We're all trade union shop stewards and active in our respective trade unions. We have a formal structure that you'll all recognise as similar in all trade unions, which are determined by rules and standing orders. And all of our officers are elected democratically annually at our AGM. We meet once a month to share reports, build support for campaigns, to discuss industrial issues, best practices, and in support of local campaigning groups, to create a wider understanding of the role of trade unions within communities. So, as a few examples of what we do in the community, and these are things that I can relate to, as it's the Trades Council that I'm secretary of. We've put on a well-attended banner theatre production of the NHS musical Free for All for the local community. We support the annual Samphire charity event in the park. We're in the process of promoting a major project in solidarity with local people who fought and died in the Spanish Civil War against the rise of fascism. We've promoted the campaign against blacklisting of trade unionists, which has resulted in the ongoing public inquiry at the High Court. We've built a campaign to force the government and the Home Secretary Patel to close down Napier Barracks in Folkestone, which has been used as a camp for people seeking asylum. We've instigated industrial activity, for example, with a joint campaign with the Bakers Union when we set up a recruitment campaign at Wetherspoons, and that linked up with other trades councils in London, Brighton, Southampton, Wakefield and Portsmouth, amongst others. We've worked with Darren Proctor, your national officer, to build support for potential industrial disputes such as Whitelink. And most recently and importantly, we have helped build and spread the campaign in support of the RMT branch secretary and union rep Declan Clune, who, as you will all know, has been unjustly sacked. We actively campaign through the social media, and when the pandemic allows, on the streets, inside and outside of workplaces. In fact, anywhere we can. And I'm proud to say that the RMT already have many activists within trades councils all over the country. Once again, we're seeing trade unionists and trade union officials and officers, and in particular trade union reps, come into the boss's firing line. And the legislation going through Parliament will target our movement once again. So I ask you, as Secretary of the Trades Council, that your previous General Secretary, Bob Crow, helped to set up, to help us to build trades councils in the area that you live or work in. Stand shoulder to shoulder with us and build the trades councils so that we in turn can support you in the coming battles to come. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Eric. That was really informative and very interesting. So I'm going to call on anybody who's got any questions to raise their hand. I'll see we've got one hand raised. Oh no, it's an applause. Sorry, and a thumb up. Well, while we're waiting to formulate their questions, I've got one for myself. First of all, obviously, thanks for your support speaking to us today, and thanks for all the things that you already do. I mean, I'm quite aware of a lot of what you do, obviously, working with Medway Trades Council. What I really want to ask is, what can we practically do to support you and other TUCs around our area? Are there any practical things that we can do to support?
Well, I would ask that you, is it okay for me to answer the questions directly? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, I'd ask that you affiliate to your local trades council. That's the first thing. The person is, I believe it's Darren Lewis at the TUC that you have to contact. I can put that, or you can put his email address up, or you know, or either attend as delegates and affiliate, or if there aren't trades councils in your area, make links with other trade unions or through the TUC, and maybe start to set up trades councils in the area that you live or work in.
Okay, mate. I'm writing in longhand, so bear with me. Start TUCs. Thank you for that. Okay, oh, Eddie's just coming in. So, right, Mike Sargent's got his hand up. First question. He's not a ringer then.
Ivor, this is more of a question to us than to Eric, but would it be a good idea if we suggest that the branches put trades councils on their agendas at their meetings to just keep discussing it? Have they got any delegates? What are those delegates doing? Why haven't they got any delegates? Where is the nearest trades council? If we all had, as my branch does, if we had trades councils on the agenda, and maybe the delegates, if they've got them, could then feed back to us and vice versa. So I'm just suggesting that we put out a call for branches to put trades councils on their agendas. What do other people think about that?
I think it's a really good idea. It's certainly easy enough to do as part of our normal weekly or monthly propaganda going around the branches. We can ask them to put that into their agendas, and it's a really good idea. If anyone's got any more thoughts on that, obviously put your hand up. I'll hand over to Dean. Dean, you got something to add?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Eric, Dean Patel, Hastings and Tunbridge area branch. Myself and Bella, who's also on this meeting today, we are members of the Hastings and District Trade Union Council. Is there a directory set up for all the trades councils in the southeast area at the moment?
Yeah, I mean there is. It's but it yeah, I mean the TUC would have that. Yeah, you'd have to contact them to see exactly who.
I think it's actually on the website, on the TUC website. Yeah. Actually, there is a if you put in trade union councils, there's several pages on there, and one of them is a list of the different trades councils that are around. I'm not sure. I think probably the nearest to you would be either Medway or Bromley, I think, because you're not that far from Bromley, are you? I mean, it's a long walk.
No, I mean, we obviously get stuff through from you, obviously, at Medway, and obviously with Mike down at Dover and District. But it seems like we're also, you know, geographically close together. If we could get together for events, we could make them so much bigger. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, go on, Eric. It's your show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there are formal ways of doing this, but I mean, we have more informal ways of contacting trades councils, like with Medway, with Southampton, Portsmouth, and so on. I mean, maybe we can exchange minutes and stuff with you, Dean, as well, with our trades council. Just so we build up, we start to build up our strength in an informal way, first of all. That's my view anyway.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, next one in, Dave Crawford.
Hello, yeah, Dave Crawford here.
Hello, Dave.
Thanks very much, Eric, for everything you mentioned. Very good, and it's lovely to hear so much work being done. I'm Three Bridges branch secretary. We used to, years ago, affiliate to our local trades council, and we did have a couple of people who were very interested and acted as delegates. But we're finding in this day and age that we're struggling to get delegates to attend anything, let alone even fill local branch officer positions, which really is quite difficult. A lot of new, younger people are just not interested in jumping in on anything at all, which does make it really, really hard. Now, we at Three Bridges, as I say, we're having difficulty just covering a local branch officer position, let alone try to find somebody else to attend a trades council. So one of the suggestions mentioned was somebody that put it onto the agenda. We have, to be honest, a big enough agenda at the moment. It's certainly at Three Bridges. I don't think it would be something we would be agendaing every time we have a meeting. At the moment, to say, we are trying to fill other positions. I'm just wondering whether it would be an idea, you mentioned about affiliating to, say, a trades council, whether there's a delegate, someone like yourself, who might be able to come along in a Zoom meeting to at least give us a bit of a talk, possibly sometime in the future. I think that might be the way to go. I think on a local basis, it just wouldn't fly. I mean, I'm having difficulty at the moment trying to find a woman to take over the woman's position. And especially with everything that's going on at the moment, which is high on the agenda of every news program, and yet we can't get anybody to actually take on that particular role. But I did like what you had to say, and thank you very much. And any ideas or offers for the future, take my email address rather than waste. I say waste, I don't mean that in that particular time, but rather than taking up the time of regional council, certainly contact me directly if you've come up with any particular ideas that might be able to assist us in the future. I'll shut up. Thanks very much.
Great.
Dave, if you want to respond to Eric.
Yeah, I mean, these are difficult times. It is very difficult. But, we, for example, have tried to push and link in with the community. So, for example, we have one delegate, Keith, who runs a community centre. So we try and work with him and so on. We're at the moment trying to develop this project about the Spanish Civil War, which is raising the profile of the Trades Council itself. I'd be, I'd love to come along to speak at your meeting on Zoom. Just a little talk as well. It'd be great. But we're all facing these problems of difficulty in my own union in Unite. We're having difficulties with branch meetings and so on. But you know, where there's a will, there's a way. And to be quite honest, I think the legislation that's about to come through is going to force a lot of us to get active, more active in trades councils, in the community, and so on.
Yeah. Back to Mike.
Okay, thanks. Just a couple of points, and I must declare a vested interest because I'm the president of that Trades Council. That's why I wanted you to stipulate Eric was a secretary. That means I get to pontificate and talk, and he does all the work. But I'll just point out a couple of things. It costs 20 pence per annum per member of your branch, so it's not a great deal of money or anything to get involved with the Trades Council. And we don't expect people, you know, like when you have a branch meeting, people say, oh, we need an officer for this, they'll do it. And they think, oh my God, I've got to take that on. But we don't expect people to devote their lives to it. If you can give us a few hours a month, we're happy to take that from you. And we do have quite a healthy bank balance. So when we do support campaigns, whatever union it is, we generally produce our own generic propaganda, which is very effective because it's specific to our Trades Council supporting that particular campaign, whether it be spoons workers or white link workers or recently asylum seekers. We prepare generic stuff that we can promote the particular cause with. Also, we're not constrained by anti-trade union laws when we want to campaign on things. We just turn up as members of the public or whatever, and we're visiting. There's not a lot they can do about it when we turn up. And the experience that people have in trades councils, a lot of us have been around for quite a while learning how things work. So we can be quite effective. And at a recent demonstration in Dover against an anti-fascist one, we had more activists from trades councils turned up for it than we did from the RMT. Although the two of us together was a pretty formidable force, and we organised a very safe, well-run demonstration that day, despite hordes of fascists hurling things and trying to get close to us. But it was run very well, and the experience of our delegates ensured that we knew what we were doing. So I would ask you to try and affiliate, and all I can say is it's just another string to the bow, another arrow in the quiver, and the more we can do to support each other, the better. Thank you.
Thanks for that assault of metaphors, Mike. Much appreciated. But yeah, so I don't think, unless anybody else wants to put their hand up for a, I'm just going to have a scroll through because some people have trouble operating the hands up. No, okay. So there's no other questions, Eric. I finally just want to say thank you again for coming along. It's been really interesting and opened up a little bit of a debate that we need to certainly need to consider. I'm certainly on board with you getting TUCs more involved with local union branches and regions. Obviously, if you wish to stick around for the rest of the meeting, I don't think there's anything particularly contentious we need to be discussing today. So if you'd like to stick around and see what happens, you're more than welcome. But of course, if you've got better things to do with your life, you're more than welcome to go and do those as well. But thanks.
No, he hasn't.
But thanks again for your input. It's been really useful. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for letting me speak. Now you know what I've got to put up with him.
Yeah,
yeah, I knew that anyway.
I was just going to say, Eric, if you need counselling or help or whatever, you can reach out. Okay.
I've just muted him, Eric. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, mate. Thank you.